Welcome to this CA Fast Load for DB2 for XEOS video. In this video, we'll talk about how an online load lets you add data to a table without taking it offline. As a DBA, you are responsible for several database subsystems that are probably running 24/7 with high transaction rates. You don't have the luxury of taking objects offline to update them. What do you do if you need to update a very active table? For example, you may have a table of customer transactions that is constantly changing. You want to add data to the table while still keeping it in read-write mode so that transactions can continue. CA Fast Load can help. The online load feature adds data to the end of the table while still allowing other users to read and write to the table. New data is committed at the intervals you specify. No sysrec or sysut1 output datasets are needed because everything is done online. And no image copies need to be taken because an online load does not place the table in copy pending status. Furthermore, if the job fails, no recovery is needed. Any failed inserts roll back, leaving the table in the same state it was in before the failure. You can simply restart the load at the point of failure. The following demonstration shows you how to perform an online load. To use the online load feature, simply create a load job that specifies data available critical, commit frequency, and resume yes. Data available critical triggers the online load process and keeps the table in read-write mode during the load. Commit frequency specifies how many rows to insert at a time and how frequently to issue a commit. The default values are shown here. Resume Yes loads data into the table whether or not the table already contains data. The new data is inserted at the end. Let's put together a sample job. The sysult DD statement identifies the dataset that contains the input file. For our purposes, let's assume that a CA fast unload job has been used to create the input file for our table updates. By default, CA Fast Unload saves this file to a sysrec dataset. Input Format Unload specifies that we are loading data from a CA Fast Unload job. You could also use another input format, such as a sequential file or a comma delimited file. Data Available Critical specifies to use online load processing. Commit Frequency specifies how many rows to insert at a time and how often to issue a commit. In this example, CA Fast Load will insert 100 rows at a time and will issue a commit after every 50,000 rows. INDDN sysult identifies the input dataset. Notice that it specifies sysult to point back to the DD statement for the input file. Into table identifies the table to update. If the table is partitioned, you can specify which partitions to update. Resume Yes indicates that we are adding the data to the end of the table or partition. We now submit the job. The job executes, inserting the data at the end of the table. While the data loads, other users can view and update the table. They will only see the data that's been committed. When the data is finished loading and the changes are all committed, users can see and use all of the new rows. After executing the job, we can verify that it completed successfully by viewing the messages in PTI message. A successful execution ends with messages PFL 805I and PFL 810I, which identify the updated table and the number of rows that were added. A failed execution ends with messages PFL 206E and PFL 207E. In this video, you saw how to add data to a table while maintaining 100% availability to other users. This type of load is very useful for DBAs who need to update very active tables. We performed the online load by using the Data Available Critical syntax option, which triggers the online load feature. We specified commit frequency to control how many rows are inserted at a time and how frequently the updates are committed. We also specified resume yes to specify that we are adding the new data to the end of the table. For more detailed information about CA Fast Load for DB2 for XEOS, Click the information bubble in the top right corner to load the product page. From there, you can go to Product Documentation, visit the CA Communities, or see the learning paths.